All right, friends, at this time, we are going to work on our notes for some Spanish explorers. Okay, you need your red Alabama history folder and a pencil, and that's all you'll need for today. All right, and we are going to turn in our folder. We had early explorers for page 6. So we are going to be starting on page 7 today. Right, and we're going to go ahead and title this page Spanish Explorers. Okay, and remember that Spanish explorers are explorers from the country of Spain. All right. We are actually going to go ahead and use the front and the back of this sheet. So the first thing we're going to do is block our page with a big rectangle, because we're going to write about 4 explorers from Spain. So we'll do 2 on the front and then we'll do 2 on the back. All right. And I am not going to do a very good job on these names, but I'm going to do the best I can. Okay. So the first guy is Alonso Alvarez de Pineda. I'm sure I butchered it, and I am sorry about that. But let's go ahead and write this guy's name on here. Alonso Alvarez de Pineda. That is a long name, right? All right, I'm going to go ahead and underline his name. And we are going to write that he explored a large body of water which he called the Rio del Espiritu Santo, which means River of the Holy Spirit, or River of the Holy Spirit. All right. And the reason this is important in Alabama is because this area that he explored is now known as, well, one of 2 things. I guess depending on which researcher you ask, it could be one of 2 different things. All right. It is now known as the Mobile River and Mobile Bay. Remember, we talked about Mobile when we did our map with important cities in Alabama. Remember, Mobile is down there. It's that seaport city that's down close to where Gulf Shores and Orange Beach are if we go to the beach. So this area is now known as the Mobile River and Mobile Bay, or, because there are some researchers, they can't really decide if it's the Mobile Bay area or the mouth of the Mississippi River. So we're going to put both. So, or the mouth, or the bottom part where it opens up into the ocean of the Mississippi River. Okay. So that's our Alonso Alvarez de Pineda. All right. All right, the next guy, these names, is going to be Panfilo de Narvaez. And the thing to know about him, first of all, was that he had terrible luck. Every time he tried to do something, his explorations failed. All right? And so one particular guy that was one of his men that he carried with him for his exploration was called Cabeza de Vaca, and that we're going to go ahead and make note of him because he had a crazy experience. All right, so one of his men, one of Panfilo de Narvaez's men, so one of his men, Cabeza de Vaca, wandered. So after they got stuck, he wandered from the Alabama coastline and the coastline means down by the Gulf Coast or the beach area. So he wandered or moved from Alabama's coastline down by the beach on an 8-year journey, y'all. An 8-year journey. 8 years this guy wandered around. 8-year journey to reach Mexico and to be rescued. Could you imagine wandering around for 8 years trying to get from Alabama to Mexico so you could be rescued because the guy that was your leader had terrible luck? That would not be good, I think. Okay? All right, so that's all for this guy. Now, the next guy, I know how to say his name a little better. It's a little easier. So what we're going to do now is turn our page, and we're going to work on the back. We're not going to go to the next page, friends. We're going to go to the back of this sheet, and we're going to go ahead and block this one off as well because we're going to do 2 more important Spanish explorers. Ooh, my lines are yucky today, aren't they? All right, the next guy that we're going to talk about is Hernando de Soto. Hernando de Soto. All right. This guy searched the entire southeast for gold. And by southeast, I mean like Alabama, Georgia, probably parts of Tennessee, parts of Mississippi. He searched everywhere for gold. And then while in the area of Alabama, there was an Indian chief or a Native American chief called Chief Tuscaloosa. So you can probably imagine that the city of Tuscaloosa must have been about the place that this guy, Chief Tuscaloosa, was from. That's where it got its name. All right, but Hernando de Soto was trying to take some of the land from the Native Americans, that Chief Tuscaloosa was the chief of that tribe or that group. And so DeSoto and his men took Chief Tuscaloosa and held him hostage. So, and he told Chief Tuscaloosa's tribe members that they couldn't hurt any of DeSoto's men. If they hurt any of his men, that they would hurt their chief. All right. So this guy, not a very nice fella it seems, held Chief Tuscaloosa. Now notice, in the city Tuscaloosa, this is a C, but in this chief's name, it's a K. All right, so he held Chief Tuscaloosa hostage. So tribe members wouldn't hurt DeSoto and his men. All right. And to further the idea that DeSoto seemed like he was not a very nice person, there was the native city, or the city that many of the natives lived in, called Talisi or Tallahassee. I think it's Talisi. He burned the whole city down. So he burned the native city of Talisi. All right. Not a very nice fella, it seems. Okay. All right. So that is Hernando DeSoto. And I can kind of say his name. And now we're back to another name that I'm not going to do very well at. I can do the first part. We're going to talk about Tristan DeLuna Arellano. I think those two L's you're supposed to like roll your tongue on. I can't do that. So we're going to do the best we can. All right. Tristan DeLuna E.L. Arellano. I'm doing my best. And we're going to talk about two things about him. All right. This guy arrived in southern Alabama because he wanted to create a Spanish settlement or a little community of Spanish people or people from Spain. All right. So he arrived in South Alabama. To create a settlement. This guy kind of had bad luck too, because once he arrived in Alabama, they were trying to get their settlement or their little town or community set up, and a hurricane hit the area. They had the ships like anchored out in the water because they had found the land. So they anchored their ships, and they had a lot of their supplies off the ships. They were starting to set up housing and things like that. And a hurricane hit that area, and it sank his ships that were anchored in the water, and it destroyed all of the supplies that they had brought to start the city. All right, so a hurricane hit the area, and sank his ships. And destroyed his supplies. Okay. And that is it, friends, for our Spanish Explorers notes.